All right, so today we've got a little bit of good news and a little bit of bad news, and the Bitcoin conference is going on with JD Vance having just spoken right before I recorded this video. But what is going on with Bitcoin and why is it actually down today? Are we experiencing some post nut clarity? At the time of recording, Bitcoin is down almost 5% since its all time high just a couple of days ago, and it's sitting at about 107, almost $108,000. We just saw this golden cross come to fruition on the 22nd, which was like 5 days ago or something like that. And usually, this is going to be a bullish indicator, especially with Bitcoin reaching and closing into all time highs, which usually means that we're going to be entering price discovery. Maybe it's just coming back down to retest this previous all time high and turn it into support, which, in my opinion, is really the most healthy thing that it could possibly do. We got Trump media announcing that they're going to be raising $2.5 billion in capital to buy Bitcoin, which you would think is going to actually send the market to the upside. And I'm not aware of any rumors that this was going to be announced, so I don't think this is a buy the rumor and sell the news kind of situation. But this is definitely going to cause some buying pressure. And if this kind of volume is coming into the market from just one source, then it's definitely going to be taking some of the supply off of the market. And whenever it finally does come to fruition and this Bitcoin is actually bought, I wouldn't be surprised if it does push us back to the upside. Maybe the problem is that it's just only an announcement and the actual buying hasn't happened yet. According to this article on Bloomberg, Trump Media and Technology Group company has actually started to sell off because they've agreed to sell about $1.5 billion in the stock to buy $1 billion in convertible bonds to buy Bitcoin for its treasury. It's no surprise that Trump Media would be selling off if they're saying they're going to be selling some of the stock because that's obviously selling pressure for the stock itself, but that selling pressure for the stock should correlate to some buying pressure for Bitcoin. Another announcement of a big buy that's actually already happened is GameStop just announced that they've bought $512 million worth of Bitcoin. And according to this article on Decrypt, the price of GME has fallen sharply on Wednesday following word from GameStop that it made its first Bitcoin purchase. This is a buy the rumor, sell the news situation because a lot of people have been expecting over the past like 3 months or so that they were going to be announcing this buy any day now, really. So now that it has come to fruition, I think that the buying pressure that this was going to cause is already basically priced in. And it's also no surprise that GME has fallen sharply because they obviously had to sell some of their stock to buy this Bitcoin as well. But the selling has already happened, so if this is going to pay off for GameStop, then maybe it's a good time to buy a little bit of GME stock. I'm not a GameStop bro, so I'm not going to be buying any of it, but it's definitely something to consider, I suppose. What's really causing the Bitcoin price to fall today might be because the Fed meetings are supposed to be released here in just under an hour, or well, almost 30 minutes at the time of recording. And even though they haven't actually been released yet, it looks like the probability of us seeing a Fed rate cut in the next meeting has completely evaporated, as this article by Cointelegraph says. And as I said in my last video, people were expecting Donald Trump to impose a 50% tariff on the EU, but just a couple of days ago, he said that he was making some pretty good progress with the tariff negotiations, and now he's delayed those tariffs all the way out until July 9th. So, with the Fed seeing tariffs as a harm on the economy, I don't really think there's any reason that they're going to have to lower interest rates if they think that the economy is going to continue heating up. And in my opinion, this is probably the reason why a month ago we saw the probability of a rate cut coming in at about 60%, and now it's only coming in at about 2.2%. So we're probably not going to be getting any kind of a rate cut from the Fed until either Donald Trump puts a lot more pressure on them or we start to see some troubling data coming out for the economy itself. But for right now, it looks like the economy is doing pretty good, so it seems like Jerome Powell can just sit on his hands and he doesn't really have to do much. He can just continue to get paid for not doing anything at all. Also, today we do have the Bitcoin conference going on in Las Vegas, and the biggest speaker just spoke right before I recorded this video, like an hour or two ago. So this is why, in my opinion, we might be seeing a little bit of post-nut clarity or that buy the rumor, sell the news situation that often does come right after the Bitcoin conference and the biggest speakers actually doing their speech. According to Watcher.guru, Vice President JD Vance says we do not believe Bitcoin competes with the dollar. Bitcoin will become a strategically important asset for the United States. So while him saying that he doesn't believe Bitcoin competes with the dollar might be seen as a little bit of a negative because Bitcoiners do obviously see it as a replacement for the dollar, this means that the government doesn't see it as a threat to the US dollar standing as the global reserve currency. And with Donald Trump making the Bitcoin strategic reserve a couple of months ago, this could mean that we're going to be seeing them actually buying some Bitcoin, maybe, and putting it into that strategic reserve instead of only holding the Bitcoin that they already have and not selling it. Maybe if we did see him announce that they were going to actually be buying or they had already bought some Bitcoin for the reserve, then maybe this could have caused a lot of people to rush into the markets. But it looks like the biggest announcement that we've seen is that they're planning to fire every regulator like Gary Gensler, which probably means every regulator that's trying to hold back the progression of Bitcoin and digital assets, because Donald Trump wants to see the crypto space be developed and he wants America to become the crypto capital of the world. This is what JD had to say.
We're ending the weaponization of federal regulations against this community. To put it simply, Operation Choke Point 2.0 is dead and it's not coming back under the Trump administration. Now, this is my vow to every single person here. You will never see this administration trying to handicap your community or diminish the impact it's had on the economy. Instead, we reject the Biden administration's legacy of death by 1,000 enforcement actions. Maybe the most important thing that we did for this community, we reject regulators and we fired Gary Gensler, and we're going to fire everybody like him.
While this is really great news, it's nothing new actually, and it is great to see that they're not going to be attacking Bitcoin and cryptocurrency development. And back in the early days of the internet, the United States embraced the technology, so hopefully we're going to see something similar with cryptocurrency. And this is basically a message to all of the regulators to get out of the way of the crypto community and let us do our thing so that we can develop this space and make it a world changing technology that's going to benefit the United States of America. It's really great to see this kind of support coming from the government, and I think this is eventually going to lead to some really positive developments and maybe some regulatory clarity for the space. But as I've said many times, it's going to take some time for these things to actually come to fruition. And even though he just said that Operation Choke Point 2.0 is dead, we still do have the Democrats like Elizabeth Warren attacking any crypto bill that gets put forward. And there's still definitely some battles ahead of us, but hopefully things are going to start looking a lot better here in the next coming months. All of this stuff is really great news, except for the Fed not probably going to be doing a rate cut. And maybe the market is dealing with a little bit of post nut clarity, so it could be possible that Bitcoin is going to come back down and retest some of these lower levels that were previous resistance and turn them back into support. And after this short term correction is done and we start heading back up towards that all time high of about $111,000, things might start accelerating pretty rapidly. And I still think it's a long journey to the moon, so I'm going to be taking advantage of that situation and packing my bags because it looks like this might just be a short term pit stop for us to refuel and get ready to launch again. And all I know is that I want to be on this rocket when it does blast off, and I don't want to miss the ride. Looking here at the Ethereum chart, it's been getting rejected a couple of times here at the 200-day moving average, like I said it might be doing. But usually, whenever a chart continues to get rejected and retests a certain level of resistance, it's just breaking down that resistance, and eventually it's going to break to the upside. And that's when the explosive moves actually start to happen. That might be the official signal that altcoin season is going to be exploding. And if I go down here and look at many of these other top coins, they're also pretty close to the 200-day moving average. And when they start to break through, we could be seeing some explosive price action ahead of us. XRP, for example, is already above that 200-day moving average, and right now it looks like it's turning it into support, and it has already seen it as support here a couple of times in the past. but the 50-day moving average was looking like it was going to break down below the 200-day moving average, which is a death cross, and maybe it's going to be one of the first ones to explode. But with Ethereum still being the second biggest crypto of all of the cryptocurrencies out there, I think this is still going to be the main signal that we're looking for. And if Bitcoin is just coming back down right here to turn this previous level of resistance into support, then I don't think it's going to be taking very much for Ethereum to break above this 200-day moving average. And this might be the last opportunity to get those bags packed before the real parabolic price action actually starts to happen. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are we just seeing a little bit of post nut clarity for the markets here? And are we going to continue consolidating or maybe even go a little bit lower? Or do you think that all of this really great news is causing just enough buying pressure to kick off the last parabolic phase of this bull market and we're about to explode and fly, soaring onto the moon and maybe even past it? Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. But most importantly, don't forget to do only good every day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.